start the recording and actually introduce myself to you all. So my name is Ashley Bayman. I use she, her, aya pronouns, and I'm the UCDC program coordinator here at UCSC, meaning I recruit for the program, I advise on various aspects of the program, and I process your UCDC applications in the SIS system. I also work closely with someone else who is the UCDC faculty director here. His name is Dan Whirls, and he's actually a politics professor, but he actually does the selection of participants with a faculty selection committee. So I think that's a good segue on how we actually select applicants for the program. So the selection of candidates is really based on a variety of factors, including your academic record and GPA, your class standing, your statement of purpose, a letter of recommendation, and even your resume. In some cases, Dan may even request a personal interview, but those are kind of rare. Consideration is also given to, the distribution of academic disciplines participating in the program, because we really want to make sure that there's, a broad representation of majors. And then one important thing to remember is that participation in UCDC changes the way in which you meet your residency requirements. So if you have any questions about that, just be sure to, speak with your college academic advisor for more information. So now looking at who can actually apply to the UCDC program. So you have to be a full-time student with either junior or senior standing at the time of participation. So that means, you can apply if you're a sophomore, but you have to have that standing by time you actually participate in the program. A 3.0 GPA is preferred, but it's not always required. This is because a lot of the internship organizations request that their applicants meet a specific GPA requirement, but sometimes exceptions can be made. International degree-seeking students, transfer students, and AB 540 students are all welcome to apply to the program. And then finally, sometimes, I don't know, there's a myth that you have to belong, that this program is especially, for a specific major. And while it aligns quite well with legal studies and politics students, if you happen to, be in another major, that's totally fine, because as I said at the beginning, there are internship opportunities in virtually any field, and I'll go over what some of those are, but kind of more specific to legal studies and politics related internships. So now let's explore a little bit of, why you should actually consider applying to this program. So UCDC's mission is to provide the highest quality experiential learning program for all UC undergraduates by offering professional development and internship opportunities that help inform your transition from study to professional practice. So I say all UC undergraduates because you actually participate in the program with a cohort of students from all of the UCs. So you'll meet people from UC Irvine, UC Davis, what have you. As you guys might know, as UCSC students, you're really strongly encouraged to supplement your undergraduate education with, that real world hands-on experience through things like internships, which is why, UCDC offers a really exciting opportunity to you all to combine coursework, field research, and an unparalleled internship experience. So you really kind of get the best of both worlds with combining your academic disciplines and putting that into professional practice. Students participate in, a variety of places where they, really interact with experts in your fields, anywhere from NASA to the Nation Institutes of Health, to the Smithsonian, to the Capitol. You really have the chance to test drive a career, build your portfolio or resume, and really make valuable industry contacts that can be essential to landing the ideal job upon graduation. A lot of the times in today's competitive job market, it's both what you know and who you know that can actually make the difference. So UCDC offers two types of programs with the onset of COVID-19. This year, they are offering a remote program, but historically, it's really always been an in-person program, and I'll go over what each of those programs look like. So, because UCD's residential program was suspended for this academic year, so fall through spring, they've really gone a great length to create a remote program that students, we hope, find both interesting and beneficial to your long and short-term professional development goals. The remote program includes things like, the virtual internship is obviously a huge component, virtual courses, and then, other activities to provide as much of the Washington experience as possible, even though you're not able to reside in Washington, D.C. We're not sure if the in-person program will resume next academic year, so by next fall. It really all depends on the state of our nation at that time. But when the in-person program is in session, there are so many awesome opportunities for you all, like professional networking. They have so many sponsored events. There's different tours that they do around what they call the mall, which is where all the famous monuments are. They do group trips for you all, forums, and other activities. So they really want to immerse you culturally into Washington, D.C. So I just want to take, a few minutes to share some actual quotes that our students have said about the remote program, because, I know that there's a disconnect living in this virtual world and interning virtually. It's just, you can't connect with people the same. But some of the things that our students have said is that, the opportunity to participate in a remote iteration of the UCD program is thrilling because it allows them to study abroad without jeopardizing their health. During the past 6 months, amidst the chaos of the pandemic, social unrest, and political turmoil, the desire to participate and study in the areas of social justice, women's rights, environmental policy, healthcare, or economic equality is more fervent than ever. I wish to make a difference with my time and energy while in my youth. Despite the limitations of the pandemic and my own health, being able to participate in meaningful change through the remote iteration of the UCDC program is an opportunity that I would deeply regret passing up. Another student said, as a politics and sociology double major, being in Washington, D.C. sounded like a dream location for opportunity. I felt like I spent a good amount of time helping others, and now I've had to find a way to help myself develop professionally. Unfortunately, my work commitments here in California that were financing my education prevented me from traveling for months on end, which I really identify with because I worked 2 jobs throughout my college career too. So sometimes it's kind of hard to leave those commitments behind. With the program now being remote, it ironically gives me a chance to pursue it, which has been something I've been thinking about for some time. Now, during these changing times, I once again am excited to take part in an experience that I've seen so many others develop professionally and personally from, which ultimately is my goal with participating in the UCDC program. Now, again, there's also the in-person program, so I wanted to share a few student perspectives from that. They're not as long, so you don't have to hear me quote someone for as long. So the first student said, I provided policy research for issues I am most passionate about, including public education, reproductive justice, and immigration. Attending congressional hearings and briefings helped me gain an in-depth understanding of the legislative process, and on occasion, I was able to attend advocacy events where elected officials spoke about their visions for change. And that's a student who actually interned with our Vice President-elect, Kamala Harris. The second student said, having the opportunity to meet and talk with the senator in person with my fellow interns was certainly the highlight of my time in DC. It was truly fascinating to converse with such a prominent political figure who possesses a lifetime of unique political experience at almost every level of government. Listening to the senator's insight and thoughts on various topics was an amazing memory I won't ever forget. I was able to meet and work with so many tremendously talented, genuine individuals who all taught me and gave me advice on how to be a more successful worker in the political field. Being on the Hill, I was able to explore and see the Capitol in a way that only those who work there can. I was able to see so many important politicians work on a daily basis, and I loved every second of it. So, just as you can see, there are so many benefits to participating in both programs. So now moving on to the actual UCDC course offerings, you have to enroll in 2 courses. So one is the 7-unit internship, and then there's this 5-unit core seminar course. You also have the option to enroll in an additional elective, and I'll go into that here soon. So again, there are so many different internship opportunities available. I can't stress that enough. And I'll actually show you some examples of what those look like. But something important to know is that you are responsible for finding your own internship after you've been selected into the program. No worries though, staff in Washington, D.C. will assist you in this process. They'll provide you, with a lot of guidance and internship leads. They have so many organizations that they work with on the regular that are constantly seeking UCDC participants because they know the rigor of the program. And then once you're accepted into UCDC, you actually gain access to a UCDC internship database, and that contains a ton of active internship listings by internship sites that, again, routinely hire UCDC interns. So this is just a slide of some of the many organizations our students have interned with over the years. And then here's some samples of, legal study and politics related internships our UCSC students have actually worked with. I'll actually send out, this recording and this presentation to you guys who are here. So if you wanted to look these over more in depth, but I do want to say that due to the new president-elect, we're anticipating there will be even more opportunities on Capitol Hill and with the White House with, the transition of power. So in addition to your internship, all students are required to take one seminar course, and there are typically about 5 to 6 seminars to choose from, as you can see right here on the side. The seminar features group meetings and tutorial sessions related to your internship placement, and you complete a research paper, which is really kind of an essential part of the Washington program. For many students, we've heard it's actually one of the most extensive papers for which you'll write as a college student, but it's a paper in which you receive a ton of support and feedback through the faculty sponsor, through your teaching assistants, and with your internship supervisor. And then finally, in addition, you may choose one upper division elective course from a range of classes offered by faculty at UCDC. These elective courses are typically 4 units and are in several disciplines. So if you do take an elective course, you're eligible for 2 additional independent studies units if you choose, because as you might know at UCSC, in order to have a course count towards a major requirement, it has to be at least 5 units. So since that elective course is only 4 units, you can take additional 2 units. So just kind of some specifics for legal studies students. Courses taken at UCDC can only be used to satisfy upper division requirements, but not the legal studies senior capstone. I've had students ask me about that in the past, and it was confirmed that unfortunately you cannot use UCDC courses to fulfill that capstone. And then 194A is normally used to fulfill the law and society or public law and institution requirement, but again, it can be applied towards most upper division major electives. And then for politics students, UCDC 194A, which is the seminar course, is considered to fulfill one upper division politics elective for the major. And when you complete the program, you have to submit a syllabus for UCDC to get approved for the elective substitution. And I think that's the same for both legal studies and politics. So I really did just want to quickly mention the program resources available to you before you actually participate in the program. So not only will you have access to me throughout the pre-departure process, but you'll also be assigned an academic internship program administrator from UCDC who will help you with the internship search. Another great feature of the UCDC program is that they just created this pre-departure course. It was just implemented this quarter, and it's actually designed specifically for UCSC students. And in the course, you cover things like, the internship search process, how to build a strong resume, cover letter, LinkedIn profile, how to work in a virtual environment, well, as of right now. So they really do try to make sure that you kind of get a holistic form of preparation before participating in the program. Actually, one other thing I want to mention here is that you will work with your academic internship coordinator with your resume. So she will ask to review your resume before you submit it. She'll ask to review your cover letters before you submit them, so she can really ensure that you have, strong candidacy for whatever role you're applying to. And we tell you guys to actually say that you're a UCDC participant in both your resume and cover letter before sending them out to those organizations, because again, they're looking specifically for our students. So I did want to go over, a little bit of what life in DC is like, just because the in-person program has historically been the only program that we've offered. So as you might know, there are so many cultural monuments in DC, including the Smithsonian and so many museums. There's tons of festivals and events. I don't know if you guys saw videos from this past weekend of like the streets in DC crowded with people dancing in the street. Now it is COVID-19, so I don't, that. But, it's just a very lively place. And this photo particularly were students at the Cherry Blossom Festival that they have every year. That's really beautiful. The location of the Washington Center, I'll show you on the next slide, but it's really close to a lot of Washington's national monuments and history. There's so much good food there because it's only like 4 hours south of New York City. So, there's just a lot of cultural diversity when it comes to the people and the food. And then there are many local attractions. So the Washington Center is located right here, and that's where our UC students live. It's in what's called DuPont Circle, which is a very, very popular place. You can see it's right down the street from the White House. So just like a couple of blocks from the White House. It's a short walk to the metro, and then it's really close by to, grocery stores and, the mall and so many things. So you really can get by quite easy just walking. And then a little bit about what life is like at the UCDC Washington Center. So here is the center itself. It's many stories. You live in a fully furnished apartment. Typically, you live with one other student. You guys have, a full kitchen and everything. Again, we're not sure what's going to happen next year. It could be that they do, they lessen their quotas for the program and they only allow one student per apartment, but we're not quite sure what they're going to do. But typically, it's 2 students per apartment. There's 24-hour security at the building. There's laundry there. There's even a convenience store there. You actually take all of your classes in the building. So it's kind of like the central hub for everything that you'll be doing. And anytime they have different speakers and activists come in to talk to you guys, it all takes place at the Washington Center as well. I'd say another real highlight of the program is meeting other UC students. You might live with someone from another UC campus unless you specify that you are participating in the program with someone from UCSC, and then there's a roommate survey and you can notify that there. But the friendships that you make just living, in close quarters and experiencing a new city and a new culture and new professional experiences, just really kind of fortifies those relationships. And we're really doing our best efforts to ensure that social engagement within the remote program as well. So now looking at the total cost of participation. So while the program is remote, there are no extra costs to you. So you're just paying UCSC tuition. Obviously, you pay whatever housing costs you pay now. That looks different. The financial aid, if you receive financial aid, varies on your living situation, whether you're on campus or off campus or commuter, etc. And then your personal expenses, unless you need to buy a few blouses or button-down shirts or whatever it is, they're really just the normal cost of your living expenses now, because again, it is a remote program. And then when it is an in-person program, the pricing is different because you're paying housing costs at UCDC. You're still paying your regular UCSC tuition, so nothing's different there, but the housing is a little bit more expensive. If you receive financial aid, your financial aid will always adjust to meet those costs, because we give them an updated budget of what it is for the UCDC program. And then extra expenses include, the airfare, your food, and just any travel expenses that you might have. But again, if you receive financial aid, your aid adjusts to meet those costs because we give them a different budget than what your regular UCSC, budget is for the term. And then a little bit about how to apply. So you complete an application in the UCDC application system, which is called SIS. You can start, a profile at any time if you just want to kind of navigate through it. But you just use your campus email address, so you don't have to make up anything, which helps me a lot because I hardly remember like new passwords and things like that. As part of the application, there are a few documents that are required. You have to upload a resume. You have to upload a statement of purpose. You have to upload your unofficial transcript, which you can download from my UCSC. And then you can either upload your letter of recommendation or you can have your recommender send it to me directly. All this information is available on the Study Abroad website. So if you go to studyabroad.ucsc.edu, go to programs, and then go to the Washington, D.C. program, all of this information is under how to apply, really like step by step. So if this is something that's interesting to you, our program for this spring, the deadline passed just yesterday, but I'm actually going to extend the deadline a week just because I knew I was doing the session today, and they allowed me to, so I'm going to do it. I'd rather students have as much access as possible. So I'm actually going to make the deadline next Sunday, November 15th for the spring program. So, if you were interested in doing it this spring, please reach out to me, studyabroad@ucsc.edu. Just send me an email and we can set up an appointment and I can talk to you about it or walk you through the application or whatever support you need. And then if you were interested in doing it next year, we actually recruit for fall and winter quarters at the same time. So both of those applications will open in January. And usually the deadline's like the end of March, beginning of April. So that's what you can kind of expect in terms of application timelines. And then, I just mentioned this is my email address. All you have to do is address it as Ashley and I'll see it right away. I'm very quick to respond. When I am on campus, when we're all on campus, I'm usually in classroom unit, which is right behind the Corey Plaza. So I guess we don't have to worry about that anytime. And then you can book a virtual appointment with me in something called Study Abroad. That's our actual UCSC Study Abroad application system, but you wouldn't fill out an application in there. You would just create a profile. And once you create your student profile, you can set up a virtual appointment with me, anytime you want. Or again, you can just email me and I can help you set that up. So I felt like I talked a lot and maybe didn't take a lot of breath. So I'm sorry about that. But I am here to take any questions that you guys might have. I can go back to any slides you have or, anything that comes to mind.
I have a question.
Sure.
Is there a preference as to which department you get a letter of recommendation? Because I'm a double major, so legal studies and psychology. And since most of the internships are geared towards like the legal area, is there a preference as to which department?
There's not a preference at all. And while the ones I showed here are kind of legal studies focused because this presentation was kind of specifically for legal studies students, there are many psychology related internships as well. I mean, there's just a broad range. So there is no preference from what department the letter of recommendation comes from. We highly, strongly encourage you to get the letter of recommendation from a faculty member, someone who's worked with you academically. But sometimes I know it's hard to create relationships with faculty. I had trouble doing that like during my college career, and I totally regret it now when I was trying to apply for grad school. But if you don't have that type of relationship, you're welcome to get the letter from a TA or maybe one of your academic advisors who's worked with you, or even a former employer.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, of course. I have another question. If you apply for the program, do you only get in for 1 quarter, or could you do it for 2 or 3 quarters? So unfortunately, it is only a quarter program. So if you apply, it's just for 1 quarter, unfortunately. But after that 1 quarter, maybe you'll have a really great internship experience and decide you want to, internship for the rest of the year. It just wouldn't be for academic credit. These internships specifically, you're getting 12 for sure units, and then the additional, 4 to 6 units. But if you have a really great internship experience, you might make your own deal with your internship supervisor that you want to, stay on as part of the team. That's what this kind of opportunity opens the doors for. So yeah, I hope that answered that for you, Julie. Anyone else have any questions for me? And, as they come to mind, again, like, please do not hesitate to write me, studyabroad@ucsc.edu. I'm happy to answer anything. I'm here to support you guys and your interest in the program. So, whatever I can do to do that, I am more than happy to. I have another question. What does UCDC offer compared to the UC Center Sacramento program? So I don't work with the UC Center Sacramento program. That's specifically at the Career Center. But I can say the most notable difference is that the organizations that you work with in UCDC are primarily based in Washington, D.C., whereas the internships you work with at UC Center Sacramento are primarily based in California. And those are a lot more public policy focused internships. The program really has like a strict curriculum that is politics, public policy focused, whereas with UCDC, again, it's a range of internship opportunities in any field. It's not as focused and honed in as the UC Sacramento experience. I hope that answers that for you, Rowena. I have another question from Cesar. Should the recommendation be tailored to the program? So the recommendation should be tailored to you. And if you go to, well, let me see if I can, I'm always like nervous about sharing my screen and taking you to websites in case I mess up something. But actually, let me bring it up on my screen. So I'm gonna stop share, and then I'm gonna share again on my desktop. And then, okay, so let's go to the Study Abroad website. So if we go to just like, here's the program right here, here's program, let's go to the program. And if we go to UCDC Washington program there, and we go to how to apply, it'll actually, tell the recommender exactly what they need to write. So if you can see here, it tells them exactly what to include within the letter. It also tells you what to include within your statement of purpose. So, that's information on how to apply. The costs are broken up here on the website. It goes into a lot more detail about the actual courses, some of the internships, within various fields are listed here. So if we went to, government, it would take us to like a range of different government agencies that offer UCDC internships, placements. We have frequently asked questions, and then more information about the UCDC remote programs that's at least through spring. So that's kind of where you can get all of that information. So as you're asking for the recommendation, just go to the how to apply page and just tell them, this is what we're looking for. And then I have another question. You're welcome. Do you guys close the in-person program for an entire academic year, or does it go quarter by quarter? For example, could the in-person be closed for fall 2021, but open for winter 22 or spring 22? Yes, it can. We made the decision to close it for the entire academic year this year because all of Washington, D.C. is remote this year. And, in order to plan that's what we did for this academic year, because it was at the height of the coronavirus, which actually is still kind of at the height. But we haven't made any decisions for next fall. So if fall we decide, it's not safe, but in winter we decide it is, they could change it from a remote to an in-person program. Next year they'll be going quarter by quarter, but this year they just decided to do the whole year because most of the internship opportunities were remote this year. Oh, another thing on your point, I don't know if it's Gilly or Jilly, but when you're applying for fall, you're applying for fall and winter at the same time, as I mentioned. So it's kind of up in the air, it could be like fall is in person or fall is remote, winter is in person. At this point, you kind of don't know which program you're applying to, just because we don't know what's going to be happening with COVID. We're hopeful that a vaccine will be implemented here within, in year 2021, but we're just not sure. So unfortunately, I can't provide any guarantees, but that they'll be taking it quarter by quarter next year. You're welcome.